critical media literacy. This is a skill that your children need to learn so that they can be safe online. My guest today is Christina Johnson. She is a renowned educator. She has a master's degree from 2 different universities. She's top quality. Okay. Christina Johnson is a resource specialist teacher. She is also a first-generation college graduate. I am so glad to have her. Let's get into it. So parents and educators out there, if you are not sure how to help support kids with the media that they see and are bombarded with all the time, this episode is for you. We're going to give you tips and strategies that you can use to make sure that your kids know what to do, know how to question, and know how to be critical of what they are consuming. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Flenaugh. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. What are some other ways that you might have them create in the classroom in response to what they are watching, reading, or viewing?
It's a very, I think it's a very good question. It's also potentially a very hard question to answer because we find ourselves at a very unique time period in which handwriting is becoming obsolete almost. And I know it's crazy, but it's true. And as somebody who's visually impaired, I'm not mad about it because I need to put this on the computer so I can blow it up to really see what you wrote. However, it is important. We understand, for children to be able to handwrite things because of that connection between, or the synergy between you handwriting something and your mind, and also being able to retain that. Yes. I don't know if handwriting and typing has the same effect on the brain, but I know growing up, I would constantly hear that handwriting helps you remember things. So that's something that would be really cool to look up to see if typing something helps you remember things as much as well. Yeah. But in the classroom, I like the idea of creating reaction videos. So a lot of things that are going on right now is rage baiting. Somebody posting a video that will make people mad so that they can comment on it. They will share the video. So then you will get more views and then thus get more money. So then you have to also think about that. Like, does this person really believe this, or are they rage baiting just to get you to interact with their content? And so with that, you can create something that might cause like a bit of a rage bait in the classroom to then have the students create a reaction video to it, or, make comments underneath that video. I think we were talking a little bit over the phone just about, I forgot exactly the name that you called it, but
irritation as motivation. So I definitely irritated my students to motivate them. And that's the same effect as rage baiting, right? Like, if I know they like Taylor Swift, I might have them read somebody's review that's really negative about Taylor Swift, right?
Right.
And so, of course, because they love Taylor Swift, they have like 10, 20 different things to counter what that is that this person wrote that they don't agree with. Because sometimes we find our students are not motivated to work. And a lot of that comes from when I come up with the topic and I'm like, yeah, let's do an argument essay on street cleaning on Tuesdays. I'm just making up something. And for the kids, they're like, I don't care about
I don't give a crap about street cleaning.
They don't drive. It doesn't affect their car. They're not paying any parking tickets. Like, this doesn't matter to me. So, but I'm like, guys, let's write about that. And then they're like, what? So,
Get this lady out of here.
Yeah, so it's really important for us to consider like what they're interested in when they're writing, because the point of writing, especially like an English teacher, my goal is to see if you can write an argument. It's not to see if you could come up with different ideas about why street cleaning should be scheduled differently. Like, that's not the point. The point is, can you articulate yourself, get reasons for it, write it in a succinct way, write it in a clear way. So it actually, you can write about something that you care about. I don't have to care about Taylor Swift or not. It doesn't matter. Do my students care about it? And yes, they can write about it. And giving them even examples inspire them. So inspiration looks like irritation sometimes, and sometimes inspiration looks like something that they're really, interested in, like,
passionate about.
Yeah. So you can see something that someone wrote about that they really care about. And then they're like, oh, well, I really care. I don't really care about that, but I don't really care about that artist, but I really care about this artist. So I'll write about that artist. I love how they wrote this and this and this about that artist. And I have similar things that I like about my artist. So helping them, giving them like a choice about what they're writing about, making it relevant to their lives. Like we said, like, everybody's talking about whatever this topic is. So let's bring it into the classroom. Let's talk about it. Let's look at, 3 different point of views that people have already created posts on, or people already wrote op-eds on. And then, like, what's missing? Like, we heard a woman write about this. Here is a Caucasian male who wrote about this. Here is someone in their 20s who wrote about it. Like, what's missing? Oh, well, no one in their 70s wrote about it, or, a teenager didn't write about this, or even how this might affect an elementary school student is not written about. And so they could add that voice, or they could say, oh, well, no one that is of Asian descent wrote about this. So, I know I could bring that to the table. So those are just different ways to get our students going. Cause we're like, some people, right, are like, how do we get kids to write, or how do we get them? They don't seem to care, but it's like a lot of times it's because we're the person bringing forth the topic. And,
right.
Yeah.
You want the kids to write about something you care about. They don't give a hot and picking about it. They don't care about what's going on there. And so they definitely don't want to write about that. And so that also, brings us to the importance, like you said, of getting to know your students. Yeah. And that first week, 2 weeks of school, there's different ways for teachers to get to know their students. Of course, sitting in a circle, tell me about yourself, write about yourself. So that you can find things that they are interested in, and then you could gear some of the curriculum to those interests. It's not always what it's about, right? It's more so the formula that you want the students to get down.
Yeah.
So, again, like if we're talking about math problems and things like that, doesn't matter if Johnny had 6 apples or if he has 6 watermelons. That's just, what the question is about, but you could always change that topic to suit whatever his interest is. Maybe he's really interested in oranges. Who knows? Okay, because kids come to you with so many different things that they care about that you're like, I've never even heard about that. Still, it's really important to them, and it can help them to become better writers, become critical thinkers, become better orators, and articulate themselves in such a way that could move somebody, or, potentially change legislation later on down the line. Who knows what these kids will become?
Yeah.
That also brings me back to when you and I were working in the classroom, and your fight for creative writing and the importance of creative writing, and understanding that creative writing is very important, and it is important, if not just as important as argumentative writing or persuasive writing. And so oftentimes people don't believe that. They want to skip over it. We got to get to the argument, because that's what the test is going to ask them to do. Write an argument about this, prove that. If the kid doesn't care about it, they don't want to write about it, they are probably not going to give you the best argumentative essay, because like you said, maybe it's not about Taylor Swift. Maybe it's about Beyonce. And we know they can go on for days about who's the better artist. We know it's Beyonce. But I digress. I stand, but I digress. And so, as a teacher and as a parent, my mom, she would buy me journals. she wasn't a teacher, but she would buy me journals. And so I would be able to write poetry at different family events. I'd be like, hey, I want to get up and say something. Mom was like, okay, that's what you want to do. Go ahead. So like at a family, family member funeral, it's a sad time, but maybe I had written a poem and I wanted to share it with my family. And so my mom allowed for me to get up and share that at my cousin's funeral. But those are things that sometimes folks don't value. Teachers or education doesn't always value a poem written by a child or a song written by a child. They're just like, what's the possibility that little JoJo's going to grow up and become the artist of the century or millennium? We don't know, but give him an opportunity to do it.
Absolutely.
And he might kick you down something when he make it, because we know you ain't making no money in that classroom. And I told you, I be rooting for my kids. Come on, JoJo. Come on. You write that rap.
Absolutely. I would argue that creative writing actually is where the money's at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you think about the blockbuster movies, you think about the singers, the writers, right, who wrote those songs, like they're making big money. Now, there's a little bit of an MBA, element to it. Like, we're not all going to make, everyone's not going to make $1 billion from writing songs or making movies, but there's other things in between that, right? As far as the creativity goes. And just the creative license, right, helps to unlock for kids the ability to imagine, right? Like that freedom dreaming, right? Because if I'm just telling you,
I like that.
This is what writing is, right? You're writing an essay about dolphins. Again, you may not care about dolphins, and you're like, okay, great. So I'm closed off to writing because you told me that this is what writing is. But if I then am saying to you, no, you could write about whatever you want to write about. I always hear you talking about different types of t-shirts. So write about t-shirts. Again, as a teacher or a parent, you don't care about t-shirts, but if it's what your kid likes, let them write about it. And you'll see that they will really open up and expand, right? Because they're going to give you that minimum. How much do I have to write about t-shirts? A paragraph? Okay, I'm going to give you a paragraph. If I don't like t-shirts, right, you're going to make me write about something. I'm just going to give you this much because at least it's done. It's done. Or again, we know some kids don't. Like, no, I'm not writing that. I'm not writing anything. They don't write anything. We have seen kids who don't.
IDK. That's what IDK. I know IDK. You got to be lying.
I don't know anything about t-shirts. I don't know anything about dolphins. Like, but again, you will get, and everybody has that thing that they can't really shut up about. Like, oh, this person's always talking about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's what you can write about. And it's like, oh, I can't. Like, yeah, so I got.
Yeah, you can. You can tell me about it. Yeah.
Yes. So, like, that just makes a big difference. The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today. This episode is going to include Tiffany's tips.
I want to touch on AI. I think that it can just be a really powerful tool for parents to teach their children. And it can be used in an ethical way, not to sort of give the kid ways to, manipulate and use it to take shortcuts, but the opposite of that, kind of giving them more creative ways to learn, giving them, really fun things that they could do. They could, making picture books is one way. You could use AI for that. Maybe making a picture book about a topic, like we were saying. Let's say your kid is really into dinosaurs, and you could make a picture book illustrated about all kinds of dinosaurs, or airplanes, like you mentioned, whatever it may be. And there's like so many different tools for teaching. I think it's called, I should have had more names listed, but I believe it's called Magic School Bus is a really cool one. And
that's the one that makes the picture books?
No, the one that you can use for visuals, I believe it's called Sora.
Sora. Sora. Okay, in the show notes. Take a look.
Yeah. And then Magic School Bus is more for creating like lessons.
Okay.
Engaging lessons, and you can put in topics, and it can create all kinds of lessons in different ways where you can make, paragraphs and have open-ended questions about the paragraphs, or multiple choice, all kinds of different things.
And when we're really talking about, again, talking about what they can create, again, finding and valuing their personal voice, right? Because if I am just a consumer, just watching what everybody puts out, I'm just kind of waiting for things to be there, or just accepting, well, I guess they just don't have any poems about dolphins, because maybe you love dolphins and I guess there's just none around there. I wish I could find a poem about dolphins or a movie about dolphins. And it's like, no, actually you could create that. You saw this movie that someone else created. You saw this poem someone else created, but you could make a similar poem about the thing that you love. And again, it just opens up possibilities, right, for kids. Like, there are so many jobs and careers out there that are going to be happening in the future that aren't created. True. There's so many that are here now that weren't around when we were kids, but that comes from the, exercising that muscle of creativity and not just being a consumer, being someone who creates, someone who imagines and puts in the action, right?
Yeah.
And puts in new parts to the world, is a contributor, right? And this is about, the ultimate goal of of education is like to be independent and to be a good citizen, right? To be a person that contributes to the world. And so again, all of this goes together, right? Like helping them to not just be a consumer, but also a contributor, a creator, to be imaginative, and for them to be able to value themselves, right? That also brings like self-worth. Because I created this, right? Rather than like, I'm just waiting for someone to create something for me.
To create it.
Watch. Yeah.
No, I sincerely agree with that. I spent some time at Stanford in a program, like a teacher prep program, but it was really after you had already become a teacher. So you had to have been teaching for at least 2 years. And one of the activities that they had us do was about creating an app. Like, if you had, like, think about what are some of the things that teachers need in the classroom. Think about you as a teacher right now. What is something that you would need to help your school become better?
Right.
And so myself and the 2 other teachers from the school that I currently work at were at the program. And so we created an app around, I can't remember exactly what it was for, but it was an app around tracking like student bathroom usage or something like that, to make it easier. So that would be one less decision that a teacher would have to make. And so it just made me think about that time, because as you're saying, as an adult, as a consumer, maybe I'm just waiting for somebody to, like, what if someone created this app? What if you created the app? Like, to be a free thinker, to be a free person, to be an imaginative person is so amazing. And so sometimes it's not as common as people think. And so, like, when we look at these billionaires, like this morning I was up, girl, trying to get in that market, okay? So I was up on, so serious, I'm trying to get ahead of it. So I was up looking at different IPOs, things that are potentially coming out, and it made me consider Elon Musk. I don't believe in that there's an ethical billionaire. However, again, with my love of questioning, I'm just like, what were some of the questions that he probably had to come up with in order to think about creating Starlink, to think about creating Tesla? Whether he was the, original creator or not, still, these are potential questions that either he had or someone else had to create this company? And what are questions that maybe I have about the world in which we live today that could help, further something or utilize something that's already been created to then propel myself further? Too often, our children, by our, I do mean African American children, are bound by this idea of getting out. I have to get out of the hood. In order to do that, I have to become a famous football player or a basketball player, and I have to do that through sports. You can do it through sports, but you can also, be the genius that you are and do it through a different way. And so I think it's very important for us to try to help our children fall in love with education and learning the same way in which they could fall in love with athletics. And so one of those ways I believe is also in showing them how some of these millionaires and billionaires made their money through just simply creating questions and finding an answer to a question or to a need that, millions of people have.
Solutions. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, when we're going back to like critical media literacy, we're really also thinking about, when we're thinking about who created this, right? And we could be looking at, well, there's not that many Black filmmakers, or there's not that many Black writers or whatever, right? So there's people who are missing, and really making sure that they understand, like, you're the ones who can be the filmmaker. You can be this. And then also about thinking, really actually recognizing sometimes we're looking at something and we're thinking, oh, this is just a television show, or this is just someone venting online, and not knowing, like, no, actually they're getting paid. This is an ad. Because that, like, part of that is making ads not look like ads now. And so just part of evaluating, right? Like we talked about asking questions, being critical of it, but also like evaluating, like, actually this is an ad, and it is, biased. They're paid to do this, and they're not considering the downsides. They're only telling you all the positive things about this. But I need to actually look at it myself, or see if someone else is out there with a different viewpoint of this, or from a different position, right? Considering positionality. And then you could really evaluate, like, this is really not a good ad, or this is not really good for me. Even though this person, I maybe have watched them online a lot and I love a lot of the things they do, but this part, I don't like this ad, and I am not going to buy this thing that they are using, and they're making it seem like, oh, this is just my regular life. I just have this here and I'm using it every day, and not knowing that they got $10,000, $15,000 from this company to use this, and it actually is not that helpful or for people, but they got it for free. Because sometimes we know that kids are emulating, right? Like, oh, we talked about this yesterday, like, oh, look at my haul, I have this big haul from Amazon. So look at all the things I bought, not knowing that they have 2 million followers and they gave them all that stuff for free. And you're like, oh, I got some money. Let me go do my Amazon haul. And it's like, actually, you don't need to do an Amazon haul. You're not getting stuff for free. You don't need to spend all that money, So we really need to evaluate, like, is that smart? Is that the right decision for us? This person's getting paid. This person got this for free. So this is not the best thing for you, even though this is nice for them. Like,
Yeah. So true. And then, so like you said, children emulate. And of course, like the, age old adage that children are sponges. And so too often, if they see one of their favorite content creators doing it, they just follow those people. Doesn't matter, what they're trying to sell. It's just like, oh, this is what Taylor Swift likes. This is what Beyonce likes. I'm going to purchase it. She said it's a good product. Meanwhile, you put it in your hair and your hair done fell out.
We do not have the same hair. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, that's a good product for her. It doesn't mean it's a good product for you. And it also does not mean that you are no longer a fan just because you don't agree with them in this moment. And so sometimes in today's age, I find that so many of our students will say, well, if you don't agree with them, miss, then you're the ops. I'm like, no, I'm not. I just have a different opinion. Like, I'm not the opposition. I just have a differing opinion from that person, and it doesn't mean that I don't like them anymore or I don't want to listen to their music. I just don't agree with that one thing. Because people have different political views. They have so many different things that go on in the world. And it's okay for me, to separate some of those things sometimes. Not all the times. Not all the time. And so I think it's very important for us as parents and for us as adults to help our children see that it's okay to have, a different opinion at times, and it's okay to think differently than their peers. Because just because your peer posted a video and it got 1 million likes, it doesn't mean that that is the best ice cream in the world. That's just the ice cream that they posted that people liked the reaction they had to. Doesn't mean that it's right all the time. And so, yeah, very much.
I love that you said that, because that's another part of evaluating. Like, okay, so TD Flenaugh just gave her recommendation on the best types of doctors to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have any medical training?
Question?
Yeah, so it's just like, if she doesn't, is this the right person? Like, this is the best skin stuff to use. Like, is she a dermatologist? Like, yes, again, you might listen to someone on, you maybe like watching their show, maybe they're funny, but when they run for Congress, are they going to be the right person to vote for?
Yeah.
Are you going to listen to their advice on who should be president? Maybe not. Like, they might be really great at this particular thing, but as far as it goes with medical advice, right? Like, I'm a education expert. We're education experts, but me giving you medical advice, I'm not a medical expert.
Not so
I have
much.
medical training. So, and that's the same for everyone. Some people are good in certain things. And of course, I'm entitled to my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yes.
When you're thinking about, should I follow Beyonce's advice on medical recommendations? Probably not.
Probably
not. Like, but do I still love her music, or I want to go, to her concert, buy whatever? Yes. But medical advice, hold on. Not so much. And so
pump your brakes.
You gotta evaluate, rather than, like you said, oh, well, my friends are doing it. Oh, well, I just saw that YouTuber who has 1 million views see it. They said that. So it's like, but that's not a reputable source for that particular topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to, you got to evaluate, is this the right person to get this advice from? Mm-hmm. Who else is saying the same thing? And again, we know that sometimes, this is a whole nother topic that we'll talk about later, like recognizing like deep fakes. Like, well, actually Beyonce didn't give medical advice. Someone made this video showing Beyonce making medical advice, but she never said those things. They used AI or whatever. So all of that goes into it, but that's another video, another time, another topigot. I appreciate you so much for coming on our show.
Same to you. Thank you.
Imparting your information. And I know that you got, the audience is getting a lot of value from this and really thinking about things in a different way as they are navigating the media saturated world out there, right?
It's heavily saturated. Thank you so much for having me. I sincerely appreciate my time here, and I look forward to your upcoming shows and just listening to all of the advice that you have for parents and for educators, because the last thing I'll say before I go is it's just so important for us to understand that parents are the first teachers for our children. And I always say our children, even though I don't have any, because this is our world. This is our community. It's our society.
Yeah.
And I want to help to build and create citizens that are empathetic, that are thinking not just about themselves, but about the other people that are being affected by these powerful choices that are being made and the ramifications of those things. And a lot of that comes from us as parents in the home. The aunties are the big ones, right? The uncles who have their own opinions, listening to the parents, giving the parents a break, or listening to the children and giving the parents a break from those annoying questions, right? Helping to share that load, because it really is about a village raising a child. Okay, I don't have kids, but my friends have kids. My siblings have kids, and I love those kids. And so I'm going to share the load. I'm going to listen to some of those annoying questions that the kids have. I'm going to help them to answer those questions. I'm going to help them to create more questions to ask their parents later. So that they can grow up and become just as annoying as I might be, but also so they can grow up and become great citizens in the world that we have today. So thank you so much for having me. I just really appreciate my time with you today.
Thank you. Do something today, audience out there. Do something today that's going to give your child the competitive advantage. See you next time.
Toodle.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.